world? This is your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. If you see me smiling and pounding the table, you guys know I have this cardinal rule. I don't like talking to my guests, but it's Holly Robinson and Rodney Peete, and they are just here. And of course, you have to talk to them. And because they are incredible partners and been married for so long, they are just easy conversationalists. And you can still feel they're in love with each other still, and they still like each other. And the magic in here has been absolutely fantastic. So without further ado, welcome Holly and Rodney. What's happening?
Hey,
it's good to be here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. Happy to be here. This is a nice energy in this room.
Good.
And we're glad to be in New York with nice weather.
Nice weather. Yeah. Well, listen, Rodney, first I want to say to you, welcome to the Big Ten. I'm the University of Michigan guy.
Okay. You were saving that one up, huh?
I couldn't wait for that one. I couldn't wait to get I've been holding my whole life for that one. Yeah. It's an incredible USC, man.
Yeah.
How's it feel to be in the Big Ten and take that good loss that we gave y'all in the Big House?
It feels weird, you know. And by the way, it was a tight game.
Yeah, it was a good
game. We came back. Lost it in the end, but you know, had to take it out on Wisconsin the next week.
You guys definitely did do that as well.
We did. It's weird because I grew up in Arizona, but I went to school obviously at USC and just grew up with the Pac. You started with the Pac-8, then it went to the Pac-10 when I was there, and now the Pac-12. So to not have that conference anymore is just it's just a weird feeling. It's going to take some getting used to, but it's just the way the world works now. You know, it's change is inevitable, and they had to get to a place where, with the money thrown around nowadays, to really take advantage of that. And you see the 4 teams that left the Pac to the Big Ten. And now the Big Ten, to me, is just as strong, if not stronger, than the SEC, which they bragged about for years.
You said that word. I hate that word. The word that shall not be named. Those 3 letters, the SEC, which I think they're so overrated. Which, by the way, Michigan, we beat them in Alabama at the Rose Bowl game.
Yes.
Don't worry, Holly. I'm not going to talk football this entire time, but I had to get this out.
Football
oh, you can? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
When I knew Rodney was coming, I was like, oh my God.
If anything, I have to like mute myself.
Okay, good. Enjoy it whenever you're ready, because I do. You know, I wasn't thinking about the pain that I'm sure Holly, you too, as being from the West Coast, feel for the Pac kind of coming to an end. For the Big Ten is more about expansion.
Yeah.
But what I do love is that I was really happy that Michigan's first game was against USC, because I think both teams have storied college football programs. Both teams have been dynasty teams within the college football, really before Alabama really got its footing going. And the 2 teams always, at some point, played each other for the Rose Bowl. Right. And we used to always go to Rose Bowl and play you guys. And it was such a magical space and time for us to go.
Yeah.
And then
which made the game so special that it was at the Big House. Because normally, like you said, it's been a bowl game at the Rose Bowl. And it's so many years back and forth when I was growing up. And I mean, it was all about USC, Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I mean, occasionally Ohio State would get in, that team to the south would get in.
Yeah, we hate that school too. You're saying all the names right now that shall not be named.
They would get in, but it was the Michigan USC games that were.
If you could have seen Rodney Peete watching that game, he was. I was taking video of him because you haven't lived until you've watched a USC game with Rodney Peete.
I can only
much
imagine.
like you, I'm sure you're the same way.
Different, because Rodney Peete was an All-American, all honors at USC, playing the game. I was just rooting in the stands, right?
You never know it because he's a fan as well. So, and our son goes there now. And
my God,
it's a whole thing. But at least, thank God, I'm a Trojan by marriage.
Yeah.
We didn't get blown out.
Yeah.
And we had a chance.
Yeah.
And baby steps.
It was a really good game. I can't even talk trash about that game.
Yeah.
For me, I was just happy that it was Michigan versus USC, and that you guys had the chance to come to the Big House and experience what we feel, because we had been the dominant team and the golden standard for the Big Ten. Is I thought it was only right that those 2 teams played each other on the first game. I can't imagine the nerves that you guys had to have.
I was fine.
I
was fine. I was just videoing him and sending the clips in our family string to the kids, like, oh my God, Dad.
But that was the thing, you know, like you said, at the top, it's like, welcome to the Big Ten. And that's what, you know, a lot of my friends that are from the Big Ten, played at Michigan, played at Ohio State and the other schools in the Big Ten, were like, okay, you know, you about to come to a new brand of football, it's
a different style of play,
you know, new physical style of play. And so, you know, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, man, let's just not get blown out here.
Yeah.
Let's not get blown out at the big house
Look
because
like
we'll
you
never.
belong. Look like
Yeah, you
belong.
want to definitely look like you can.
All right,
hold your
that's
own.
enough of that.
I know. I
Okay.
told you. I know.
Okay.
I could keep going.
Yeah.
I'm like, Holly, can I get one more question? in?
Yes, you can get one more question.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Holly.
Go ahead.
Okay. Rodney, what do you think about this NIL dynamic that's happening right now?
Man, I was born too soon.
This is the last one, Holly.
I was born way too soon. That's the only
Too
thing
early,
I can say.
Too early.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's overdue. I think players should have been paid for a long time, and NCAA has taken advantage of a lot of guys that brought a lot of money to these programs and these
Including
schools.
you.
Yeah, and so, but I do like it, but it right now it's a town without a sheriff.
Yeah.
And it has to be, and I'm not one to over-regulate things, but it has to be regulated.
Yeah.
I mean, to allow kids to transfer every single year. Kids are like, you give me $1 more, I'm going to your school next year, and things like that are happening. So at some point down the road, and hopefully in near future, it has to be some sort of regulation with it because it's going to get out of hand.
Holly, what's your thoughts on that? You have a son
I
at
have
USC.
always thought that it was so unfair that these kids, many who come from nothing, are not compensated, and just the rules around it, and how if someone comes along and tries to offer you, here's a car, and you don't have a car, and you're just
breakfast,
food,
lunch.
and just the way it works. And then I used to get really mad when I hear people say, well, you're getting an education. It just didn't balance out for me. So I'm glad to see it. And like Rodney said, we do need a few sheriffs, so we need some oversight on it, but I'm glad it's here.
You guys are definitely my people. I feel the exact same way that you do. It's overdue. It's about time. Highway robbery. There's no way these coaches are making $10 million a year, $12 million a year. And we keep telling these kids they need to study Shakespeare English right before Ohio State, Michigan game. You're not studying chemistry.
No,
and what happens
not.
if they get hurt?
Exactly.
And then where do they go? And where's their health care and all that? So,
Exactly.
I mean, I really feel it's long overdue.
I think so too. Just to wrap that point up, I just think also too, I agree with everything. I definitely think it's going to change the college football structure in the sense of dynasty teams. What does that look like? I think teams like USC and Michigan will be fine, but like it's going to shake up the system in different ways and with all the transfers. Okay. Holly, I welcomed you guys to my show, and I welcome Rodney to the Big Ten. I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, what's that?
I can't believe I was not invited to the Holly Rod Foundation gala.
Would you have flown out to LA?
All of my friends were there.
Muse,
Kelly Rowland,
you on the list,
Nicole
man.
and Avon, Jibby Jam and Lisa, Hometown Heroes, Magic. I'm like, wait, Holly, I was standing right here the whole time. I was like, rude. I'm like, if I was like one more post from, I couldn't wait to get y'all this video again, to welcome you and then to roast you.
And then to get on me.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Next year you have to come. It was a big year for us, and we're so glad that we were able to pull that off and make that happen. Shout out to Kelly Rowland, I just picked up the phone and she was there. Viola
She's an
Davis.
amazing human being. Kelly Rowland is the salt of the earth.
She is. She is. And she's so fun and so real, and just I love just being around her. Yeah. And then she just shows up. She wore this dress that had us all mouths falling open. She always does.
She does.
But she dresses up for the occasion. So she lifts every event that she comes to. And then for her to help us give the award to Viola Davis, who dropped several mics with her speech. It was very deep.
I can only imagine. I've
deep.
only met her in professional settings. I can't claim her as a friend yet, Viola.
Right.
But I love her thespian.
She's amazing. And she got the Jacqueline Avant Humanitarian Award. And Jacqueline Avant was the wife of Clarence Avant. They're both gone now. And they were my godparents. They were the godparents to many. But Jacqueline was so poised and regal and amazing and a philanthropist. And she was one of the 3 founding couples that helped Rodney and I start Holly Rod Foundation. Wow. It was the Avants, the Johnsons, and the Jacksons. Sam Jackson, his wife, and Magic and Cookie, and the Avants. And so to be able to honor her in this way with the blessing of the family, it was a real great full circle moment.
That was so beautiful. I had the chance to meet her just once, to be in her presence. I had the chance to meet Clarence more because of the political dynamic that we were in. And I had the chance to interview Nicole for her book, honoring them. And
her book was beautiful.
It's a beautiful book. They're a beautiful family.
They really are. And Nicole, we've known each other our entire lives. we are really excited too because we have something cool coming up where our fathers used to work together. They both. My dad was a writer. My dad was original Gordon on Sesame Street, as many people know, but he also he was a writer. And one of the movies that he wrote and produced was called Save the Children. And it was a documentary, much like the the Stax documentary, of Push Expo in Chicago in the 70s. And all these acts came, everybody from Jackson 5 to Gladys Knight to the Temps, you name it. And it was this moment in time of galvanizing Black people. But Netflix is going to do a reboot of it. So Nicole and I get to go out and talk about, and Sanaa Lathan, hopefully we can get her because her dad directed it.
Yeah,
so all of our dads, and I'm
so
hoping
much
the three
history
of us,
is being said right now on this microphone, folks. I hope y'all recognize what's happening.
It's called Save the Children.
I want that interview.
And
I want that interview.
You'll get it.
Holly, do not play me.
I'm not playing
I'm
with
going to
you.
be so angry if I do not get that
It's
because
just,
that is so much legacy and history and Black excellence.
Yeah.
And I love... This isn't any diss to anything that's been made currently so far, but I feel like in media in Hollywood, we keep retelling the same stories over and over. And I'm glad that we keep giving those incredible people their flowers, but so many other people need flowers. And there's so many other stories of the Black diaspora and the Black excellence that has really shaped this country from a cultural standpoint, from a media, from a business to an economic standpoint.
That were unsung. That at the time didn't get any flowers. And it's just remarkable. This footage
I'm
is
so happy
crazy.
you guys are doing that.
I'm so happy to.
And as we're talking, folks, I'm just listening to you two and the heartbeat that you guys have. And I'm thinking about your friend circle. Friends, I'm not in their inner circle, but just in the sense of like knowing who's in your inner circle, publicly what I see and the individuals who I happen to know personally, I can see why you guys are all friends. You guys all share that same just good constitution, strong. Nobody's perfect. I always say I want people to be decent. I always want to be decent. I can't be perfect. You may catch me in the mood one moment, but I always want to be decent. And the people you guys surround yourselves with are just incredible. How does that saying go? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future or something in that dynamic. I can see it now with all your friends. You guys are a beautiful couple inside and out. I just want to acknowledge that. It's just dynamic. The conversation here is just so easy. My audience knows I have no questions written down at all. I just go with the vibe of it all.
I think the commonality with all our friends, and they'll probably tell you the same thing, is that we don't put up with the BS, right? Good. There's no BS, and we're able to be real with each other.
I love that.
You know?
And keep positive people around you who lift your relationship. You know, there's so much negativity out there. You got to your circle needs to be tight and supportive. And we've managed to pretty much have the same folks around us for the last 30 years. And that is really important. You know, we have some new friends every now and then, but just the core, at the core, there's a core group of us who are still married, are still together. And it just, every time we see each other, it's just like, we're still doing this together.
I'm going to get to Queen's Quote. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
But I do want to give you more flowers too as well, because I feel like you guys were the first Black family that really lifted an awareness for autism. And I never heard about it, honestly, until I didn't hear about it. I should probably say wasn't aware of it until you guys really started promoting it. And so I just want to just thank you guys for what you guys have done to uplift that, right? And to bring it to the forefront and bring it into the light. I really think that it was you guys and Toni Braxton at the time, because her son is also too on the spectrum, I believe. And so I think it was you two that really brought it into the awareness of us and made people comfortable talking about it. And so thank you for that.
I appreciate that. You definitely appreciate that. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was a tough dynamic when we got our diagnosis with RJ at 3. Again, I didn't know anything about it. And at that time, everything was lumped in together. It's ADHD, or he's there's a mentally retarded, or whatever they wanted to call. What is this autism? What does it mean? What do we do now? There was no books. There's not people to talk to go to run to, and so it was difficult. So I was steep in denial about it. I was like, okay. We just gonna coach it out of him. You know what I mean? It's just gonna be one of those things. I'm gonna look him in the eye, and we're gonna pull him out of this, because I didn't want to believe it. He's our firstborn. We had twins, but he was the first one out, and he was the boy, and he had my name, and I was like, had all these plans. Like, this is what we're gonna do from the moment you're
He was
born.
gonna be that. He was gonna get that Heisman that you came in
Yeah.
second for. He was gonna get that Heisman.
Yeah, he's gonna go to USC and play, all those things.
Yeah.
And life came at you, and then how do you deal with life? And so, I mean, I gotta look. We're 30 years in, from 31 really, if you put it all together, dating and marriage. But that created a moment where we almost didn't make it because I was not on board, and she was the one that, after we cried and stopped feeling sorry for ourselves, she rolled up her sleeves and said, let's go to work. Let's go find out what we can about autism and what we need to do to treat this kid of ours, because everything that's been told to us is early intervention and early detection, and everything early is the key. And I was slow as a turtle, didn't want to read anything, didn't want to do anything, and she was like, you better get on board or you're gonna have to get out.
Yeah.
And it was real, and eventually I did. So it's been a great journey because we have been able to talk to families, to people that are struggling, things that we didn't have at that moment. Now we're able to give that back to so many families that don't know where to turn.
Thank you for sharing that vulnerable moment. I'm sure you've shared it before, but just listening to you, knowing the respectable figure that you are, in particular in sports, I think there is a male dynamic that comes into play when that happens, especially if you have visions for your son getting that Heisman Trophy and the challenges that brings. I've had a couple of friends of mine who, similar to you guys, had high hopes for their first. And their first end up becoming on the spectrum too as well. And I've seen them wrestle with it, and I'm never in a position to ask questions. I'll wait for them to share as they will. And I've always wondered about men in particular who first was a boy, like what that thought was like for them.
You all process the diagnosis much differently. And there's an ego thing involved. And then there's a cultural stigma. So in the Black community, we don't talk about brain thing, anything has to do with the brain or behavioral stuff. And like Rodney said, I could coach it out of them. I've had families think that they could discipline it out of them, beat it out of them, and it's a journey. And pray it away.
Yeah.
You can, and so we were glad to be able to come out and talk about it, because we knew that so many families out there didn't have that. We didn't have that.
And when you guys were doing it, there wasn't language for it, for what the diagnosis is.
Right.
But then also too, we didn't have the language that we do now about self-care and listening and emotional intelligence
and
therapy and inclusion.
Yeah.
None of these words existed back
words,
then. So that's why I couldn't wait to give you guys your flowers and tell you how much I appreciate that. I had a cousin. I had a cousin when I was growing up, and she was the salt of the earth. But to your point, culturally Black in the church, we always said things. She's just touched. Right? She was just touched.
Yeah.
We never said the word autism. There was no other words for it. It was just that she was touched. And when I tell you she used to work at me, she still does. Oh my gosh. I just saw her recently when I went home. She's still working at McDonald's.
Okay.
She worked at McDonald's my whole life growing up, and she worked out in the lobby, and she cleans, and now she's on drive-through now, right?
Good.
And she's such an integral part of not only that McDonald's family, but of our community. So anytime people go up to that McDonald's or drive-through, they can't wait to see her.
They give her love.
They give her love. They can't wait to see her.
It's so important to remember that this community can work. Yeah, and it can work. And one of the things we were told was that RJ would never have meaningful employment, and he would never work. And now he's right now prepping for his team to play in playoffs and with the Dodgers. So it's we have to have support, for them to keep the jobs. But that's one thing we do at Holly Rod Foundation is we do job fairs, and we connect with organizations to help give them the opportunities they need, because that baseball job changed the entire trajectory of his life.
Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, we were, like I said, we were told he would never do much of anything. And when he was 18, he wanted to get a job. And I remember all of us had an idea of what RJ should do. There was a bird store he used to go to and hang out. He loves animals.
And pets, yeah.
Rodney was going to have him go work at the sandwich shop that his friend was a manager because he was worried like people were going to not understand him and didn't want to get him to get in a situation. And my mom wanted him to be a model, and he did a little modeling shoot and he killed it, but he didn't like people touching all over him. And then a friend of ours who worked for the Dodgers reached out to us, said, and we were doing a reality show at the time and we documented it. Is he really looking for a job? Because there might be something here at the Dodgers. And he came down there. We took him down there like he was 18, but we took him down there like he was 5 and held his hand. And he was hired on the spot as a clubby. And that was 9 seasons ago. Wow. So he has found a home. It has lifted him up, has made him, given him purpose. It's a beautiful story. He still has a lot of things that he needs to overcome, but it's a really beautiful story. So we share that a lot because we don't want families to think there's no hope.
Yeah.
Your child can do so much, and never let anybody limit the possibilities of your child's future.
Yeah, it gives them meaning. It gives them purpose. Even us, who are not on the spectrum, if we don't have a thing that gets us up in the morning, right? Like we don't have a purpose. So audience, imagine if you don't give those individuals who are on the spectrum purpose and meaning. It's the exact same way, right? Yeah. And so I'm so thankful that you guys to share that tidbit here right now and have really brought so much awareness to the community about what it is, how to say the name of it, and really how to work around it, and to give your children an incredible life in the future. And
it's so important. You brought up the men too, and just want to touch on this before we move on, because the numbers have gotten closer, but it's more prevalent in boys than it is girls, and that male figure, especially for a young boy, is so important, and so important for fathers to be engaged. And oftentimes dads check out because they can't handle it because of those expectations that we talked about. I want him to be this. I want him to do. He can't do that. So the hell with it, And happens a lot, but where divorce happens in the family. And so for the men out there, and Holly has a saying. I'll let her say it, but you got to start seeing the world from their eyes, not yours. Wow. And once I was able to do that, it changed me. It changed our relationship. It changed everything for us. Go ahead, honey. What?
What's thing? Oh no, I always say I wouldn't change RJ for the world because he is the most amazing guy.
Yeah.
But I would try to change the world for RJ.
I love that. So beautiful.
Because it's so important that
beautiful.
People just stop being, so rude and disrespectful and just include and normalize people that are different.
Yes.
Like we're all a little different.
We are.
But the more the world could be ready for him, the better.
I love how you wouldn't change that. I'm thinking about, and they're gonna watch, they're gonna listen, and they're gonna watch this on YouTube. They know exactly who I'm talking to right now. Great couple, known them since I grew up in Lansing, went to the same college together, and their son, firstborn, Spectrum. And when I tell you, he is so full of life. When I walk into a room, he just lights up, and he immediately says to me, "Go blue." And it just warms my heart, right?
I love it.
And to see his excitement, and that's all we talk about is Go Blue the entire time. But we have so much communication during that interaction, and I can really feel his love and what he's communicating.
They're amazing
and I watch him
souls.
and his father in action, and it's so beautiful.
We just need more of that because it's very prevalent. It's 1 in 33.
Yeah, it's very
so it's very prevalent. Last thing I want to say about this, because it's something that I'm so proud of. Yeah. So I came on to the Proud Family reboot as Dr. Lord, who is the doctor who diagnoses BB with autism. And it was such a great moment because I just think culturally, and it went viral this moment, because culturally it gave me a chance to explain to the family, to the Proud Family, what autism was. And I got a chance to reimagine, if you will, how we should have been explained to. Like so that good. Lady gave us no hope. She gave us this list of nevers. And what Dr. Lord was able to do was walk through all the things that it's okay, Mr. Proud, because he was like, "What you saying? What you saying? What's wrong with my baby?" And and so it was just really great, and it was a cultural touch point. And I'm just so proud of that. So thank you to the Proud Family for allowing me to be part of that conversation around autism in our community.
See, this is when Hollywood works, right? And this is when the public figures like yourselves use your public and your platform responsibly, in terms of education and awareness.
Yeah.
And it's super rare, and it's neat. I think it need to come from you. I wouldn't say need to come from you guys, but you guys are such ambassadors of this movement, in particular for our culture.
Yeah, that's
And
very, very important.
I know Queen's Court is about love. Season 2 is coming out, but I'm just listening to you two communicate. I'm not married, but I always talk about, I think sometimes a lot of us get into marriage for this idea of love, and they lose the fact of partnership. And it seems like you guys really get the dynamic of partnership really well.
I think we do. You know,
Nothing's perfect, but it seems like,
we get on each other's nerves and we bicker all the time. But I think we've always felt like this was for forever, and it's always going to work out. And I think that's why I like the idea when they came to us with this idea to host the show. We thought, well, this would be interesting. We've worked together before, but this is a bigger lift, right? Because we went to Atlanta and we were gone for 6 weeks and we were every day at each other's faces, and it was a good experience. We're technically, and I say technically on paper, empty nesters because there's RJ's still
never
home.
really are.
Are you ever really?
No, you're not.
They come back to that nest. And the nest is free.
Yes, it is. It's good.
But at the end of the day, like, it was fun, like, sort of venturing off into doing this work together when our kids are gone, right? Yeah. And that was fun. That was really fun. But I think the best part about it was Rodney and I have been with each other for over 30 years. We've seen a lot of stuff. We've been through a lot of things. And I think that when these couples and these queens come to us for advice, we feel like we can offer it. We're not perfect. We don't know everything, but we can offer some really sound advice. Our secret sauce might not be your secret sauce. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I feel like we were a good fit for and match for this show.
And I think what you said with the partnership it's true, because I think you're right. There comes a point sometimes in relationships where people forget it is also a partnership, and I think we respected each other from early on. You know, she was an actress and I was playing, and there was a big respect level for the commitment that she had to have to do her job and do her craft, and vice versa. So we respected that, number one, but also we talked about it. We talked about our goals. We talked about what we wanted before we got married. And we talked about it with a third party.
Right. Wow. Which, by the way, that was the litmus test for him.
Yeah.
Because I was like, do you mind if we go talk to a therapist? And, some brothers I had dated in the past, I'm not going to name any names. Yeah. But they would be like, what, you gonna try to give me a lobotomy? Like, exactly. I don't need to talk to nobody. I don't need to talk to nobody. And so Rodney P was like, oh, yeah, sure, we can. And so we went and talked to this, and I strategically picked a therapist who went to USC.
Good for you. You're smart, Holly. You're smart. But I think that's so good to have that mediator. And you guys were establishing the partnership before you even solidified the union. Yeah. Really goal setting, right?
Yeah.
Like understanding what are the goals that we want to accomplish. And I remember one time I went to a religious church service, Baptist, and I remember the preacher was saying that the danger of Hollywood fairy tales is that the idea of you complete me, right? And it's always like you need to be whole yourself before you enter into this union.
And that was actually some of the advice we gave some of the queens and some of the potential kings. Yeah. That
you gotta get yourself
you gotta be healed, you gotta be healed, and you gotta acknowledge if you're not fully healed, what parts of that still need healing. Yeah. And because you just can't get this great king if you're just still a queen, an unhealed queen. And so
I told, you're gonna rely on that king or whoever to try to fill that.
Yeah, can't fix it. Can't fix it. So that was one of the biggest things I think we imparted upon.
Don't give too much away, but I'm just thinking about one person I know on there, Kay Michelle, and she shared her journey publicly. I don't know her, but this is what she shared publicly. I like the idea of you need to be healed first before you can find a partner in your next
all
journey.
All three queens have worked on themselves. And all three queens have lived their lives openly. Yeah. And we've seen all the drama. Yeah. Lisa Ray.
Yes.
And she's somebody who has been a friend for decades. And we've watched her go through so many things. And she shared that quite openly. So when I heard she was going to come on, I was very excited because I wanted to be a part of helping her find find love in a really healthy way. And so all three queens are women who are self-made, who have gone through a lot of stuff, who literally, you know, are in a place in their lives, 40s, 50s, and are like, let's do this now. Let's do this as a healed, more mature woman. I love that.
How did you guys arrive on that? And then, if you don't mind me dig a little bit deeper here, how did you arrive on that? And then how did you continuously let that be your North Star? Holly, because you just mentioned that the line where you just said, we knew we would be in this forever.
I think it was Rodney's experience. Well, it was a combination. So my parents got divorced very, very young, very early. So I didn't really see that mother and father. His parents were married for 62 years. Wow. And so I watched them, and I watched how they were just so supportive of each other. And our relationship was much different because I, you know, am a working woman, and Rodney's mom didn't really work. She really devoted her life to her husband later on in their marriage. And Rodney's dad was a coach. He was a football coach all through the NFL. And I just watched how devoted they were to each other. And there was never any doubt, no matter what happened, that they were going to split up. And so that's all he saw. So he already came from that. So I knew that in his mind, there would be no, like, we don't bring up the D word. Yeah. Not to say that there weren't things that he did and things that I did.
You're human.
That when we were like, whoa, we hit some major speed bumps and we pushed through those. And then that, like you say, you know, either makes you stronger or makes you go separate ways. Yeah. The autism was tough, as he said, and that was, you know, we had other issues that we had to deal with. But at the end of the day, I saw the Peetes, and I just was like, wow, that was goals for me. That was couple goals for me.
Yeah. I think there's something about the idea that, in particular, in this new era that we're in, opting out is so easy to do.
Plus,
and we normalize opting out.
And we're in social media world. We're in social media world where I know everything. Let me tell you something. If Rodney Peete had been on Instagram or Facebook, I remember one day he went out with his little buddies, right? You know, them little buddies.
In quotation marks.
Right, little buddies. That, you know, some of them buddies, he had a divorce so he could marry me.
Yep.
And, you know, you're going out to the club. Now, I won't say what kind of club, a strip club, but just what, and you know how with his boys, this is early on.
Smooth.
This was early on in our relationship, right? And I remember one night, because this was early, and I pulled up by his house, and I waited for him all night long, right? Now, had that been the days, that was back in 1993.
You went with Instagram Live.
Honey, GPS, I'd have been up at that club.
You would have up on live. Hey, y'all, I'm out here waiting outside his house.
I would have been
He ain't showed up yet.
The whole thing.
Wait till he pull up here, world. Wait till he pull up.
And his old dumb friends would have been on Instagram Live at the club. Yeah. So I could have just be like, put a location on it. Yeah. I'll be right there. So, I mean, it's different now. You have so much resources. As it was, I sat home and he came home, whatever, and we worked it out, figured it out. Oh, my God. But I'm just saying, like, it's harder now.
It is.
And that's one of the things we talk about on Queen's Court. Like, I don't know that we could.
Yeah.
Could we do this?
Oh, it's so much harder.
Yeah. It's harder.
Yeah. So you have to be really, really careful. But if you're healed and you're ready, it's much easier.
I want to thank Instagram for removing that tool where you could see what people are liking. I think that's
did they take that off?
They took that off.
They didn't take that off of Twitter or X yet, though.
I think they took it off of X too as well. But if y'all remember back in the days, maybe like back in the day, 5 years ago, right? Like you could, whoever you were following, you could see everything that person has liked.
Yes.
And that ruined a lot of marriages and relationships. Yeah. So thank you, Instagram, for taking that one off.
I'm such a social media person. I mean, I'm on it, but I'm not savvy like she is. And I'll get a text sometimes to like a friend or acquaintance or whomever, and I'll like it. Yeah. And I'll get a text right out.
But hold on now. Yeah. Hey, that ain't just a friend or acquaintance, whatever.
Don't be liking that.
It's one of our friends who's a female who just is, you know, her whole Instagram.
Little thirsty.
Her whole page is booty perch. Yeah. And just pictures, right? And so I'm like, here go Rodney. I was like, honey, do you understand that I can see? And then, by the way, because we tag each other so much, your name pops up immediately. Liked by Rodney Peete.
Top
and
of the list.
Here go the girl like this. I said, dude, you can look at it all you want, but you don't put your finger and like it.
Now you're doing too much to like it. Right? Now you're doing too much.
Now you're doing too much.
Let me teach you technology and how social media works.
I didn't want her to feel bad that I saw. I didn't like it.
You got to acknowledge that you saw her little.
You got to acknowledge it.
You like your scene, your values, right?
Oh my
You're
God.
supporting her journey.
Absolutely.
Her small business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Not the small business.
You support local.
Yes.
You're supporting local.
100%.
Yeah. We don't do
Black
shades.
female owned.
Black female owned founders, right? Rodney, I got your back, brother.
I appreciate
you. You are not alone in this
you.
room, my brother. I got you. I feel the struggle.
You're not in the market to buy no lingerie, so you should have been liking it.
No, right now I can't help you out with that one. Now you down.
Valentine's gift.
There we go. That's it. Birthdays. Come on, birthdays, anniversaries.
Always got to spice it up.
Yeah.
But those are different times.
Yeah.
So we just had. It was very, very analog.
Yeah.
When we were getting together. So
You know,
I don't know if you
I
could
think
do
that
that
was
now.
a good use case of the dynamics of the Peets and how you communicate and talk through it, right? Because somebody else probably would have saw their husband liking small business owners
World War III.
pictures, and it could have been a different type of communication.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys were adult about it and had a responsible conversation, I'm sure maybe other words were said, but for the radio conversation, you had an adult conversation about it and resolved it, and you guys are still here to talk about it,
exactly.
right? And you're still
he was
together,
open to
and
hearing
you're
my
still
criticism,
together.
and he learned. It was a learning
Yeah.
because he didn't realize I was seeing that on my page that you like things, But yeah,
I love
it's a
that.
live and learn situation for sure.
I couldn't wait. I can't think of a better place to end the conversation right there on that funny note. And we just did a use case and a case study on the Peets in terms of like how they handle social media dynamics.
Yeah, you did. You saw the real time.
So tune in for more Queen Sport. And shout out to Will Packer
Yes, our
and
guy.
my friend Shayla Cowan for helping
Yes.
be the piece of this project too as well.
We love
With
them.
Yeah,
We love
I
them. And we
so
love
much.
Will. I mean, Will was the one that came to us and said,
Yeah.
only the Peets can host this. And we were
Yeah.
like, what is this you're talking about, Will?
Yeah.
And then really I had to sell Rodney on it. And then, now he's majorly invested.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
They're so great
They're
as
great.
producing
They're
partners,
just good
Shayla
people.
and Will. I really do love them.
They're good
Get
people.
it. They just get it.
They get our
really do.
culture, and they're good custodians of our
And
culture.
their approach, I literally was texting Will this morning
Yeah.
about something, and I can imagine everybody text him all day long,
Yeah.
and you never feel that way. It's never like, oh my God, you're one of 40,000 actors that's hit me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was like, Will, I
Will.
need that. And he just makes you feel like, I got you.
You're heard.
I love
You're
that.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holly Robinson Peete and Rodney P. I just have such a great time with you today. I cannot wait for you guys to come back. You guys always have a home here for whatever you're doing.
Yay.
We want
Well, we'll be back.
Yeah,
we will.
Please come back to the Mike Muse Show. And I'm going to see you next year at the gala.
Yes,
you
Don't
will.
play
gotta
me.
come.
Don't play me.
No, you got to
We'll
come
give
on
you
out.
Please
full
don't play me.
notice so you
Yeah.
can come on
Good.
out.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait.
Yeah.
Audience, what a great show we've had. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you guys will be advocates too of all the things that we just talked about to spread good love and conversation. Till next time, folks. Peace.